Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at patreon.com/inspired disorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Vacation Friends. New movie out now on Hulu. I'm not sure if it got a theatrical release or not, but it's a new movie that popped up on Hulu. This is a comedy starring Lil Rel Howery, John Cena, Yvonne Orji, and Meredith Hagner. It's directed by, let me get this name. I want them to get credit. Clay Tarver. It's a comedy about this couple, Lil Rel Howery and his wife, Marcus and Emily. And they're going to Mexico on a vacation, and Marcus has a big plan for this trip to propose to his girlfriend, Emily. And on this vacation, everything starts going wrong. And they meet this couple, John Cena and Meredith Hagner, playing Ron and Kyla. They meet them in this hotel where Lil Rel Marcus's room is no longer available, and just one bad thing after another happens. Obviously, they team up with this couple, and I didn't like this movie at all. There's not one point of this film where I laughed, where I no smiling. It was just, this movie gave me far more anxiety than it did any kind of humor or laughter, right? This movie tonally, to me, felt more like Uncut Gems than it did like Billy Madison. This is not a funny movie at all. I'm a fan of Lil Rel. He's been in great movies. I think he's, usually does great performances. For whatever reason, this character, he just whines all the time, complains. It really feels like this was a movie for Kevin Hart. Maybe that was written for Kevin Hart. He seems to be the guy that whines about things in movies. That's like his lane, like a Chris Tucker type, like just kind of a whiny guy. Like everything is just horrible all the time. So he wasn't like there's nobody's likable in this. Maybe Emily, maybe she's likable, but she's also kind of a nothing character. She doesn't really do much of anything in this movie. A lot of it is John Cena and Lil Rel kind of doing craziness, but not funny whatsoever. It's just one of many movies John Cena is in. Aside from the newest Suicide Squad, I thought he was fine in that. Thankfully, the cast around him was really good, so he didn't really have to do anything to just fit into a superhero movie. But most of the movies he's in, I am not a fan of. The comedy that came out a few years ago, Cock Blockers, or it's just called Blockers, I don't know. Not funny whatsoever. But I know people liked Cock Blockers. Like, I heard reviews from people that said that was a funny movie. I found it to be very unfunny. This one more so. And maybe it's because this movie, the premise feels like it's been done a ton of times. Like, it had kind of the wrong Missy vibes, because it's in this like hotel, this fancy hotel. Some of it takes place, this exotic location. But it's not like, there's no comedy. There's like zero comedy in this. Like, I don't understand where the comedy is. Like, I don't understand where people are supposed to be laughing, because there's no jokes. Like, it's just a bunch of unlikable people. And then like the character of John Cena, and it's like a complete misunderstanding. Of course, this plot is just like, the arc of this plot is just that John Cena, or Ron and Kyla, this couple that they're friends that they met on vacation, are like, the movie's telling you are horrible people throughout. Like, their first interaction, they give them margaritas where the rim of the glass is lined with cocaine instead of salt, right? And that's like from the get-go, that's the tone. They're like, the first time you see them, they're on a jet ski. She's smoking pot on the back of the jet. I think she's smoking pot, or she's just I don't know. They're riding a jet ski, and Lil Rel's like, oh, that's so crazy. People who ride on jet skis are the craziest people. You're never going to see us riding on a jet ski. And it's like, so he's unlikable from the get-go. His girlfriend wants to do fun stuff. They show up to the hotel where, their hotel room gets flooded because the room above them left the jacuzzi water on, and it flooded their room. And of course, the Ron and Kyla just happen to be there when this all happens. And Marcus is like, well, I'm going to propose anyway, since the room is done. They can't find there's no other vacancies in the whole hotel, in any hotel in the whole area, aside from the Best Western by the airport. Like nothing, everything's like, I don't understand. Like it maybe feels like references to other comedies, but like they may reference them. Like it feels like kind of a Planes, Trains, and Automobiles kind of situation, but there's no comedy. Like there's comedy in those bits in those other movies, where this one, there's no comedy bits. It's just like referencing these tropes that happen in other comedies, but the other comedies wrote jokes in those bits. Like they just don't I don't understand. Then there's like 5 or 6 writers for this movie. So anyway, so they somehow for some reason become friends. They find out that obviously Ron and Kyla's room is the room that flooded, that's above theirs, the presidential suite. But of course that room is completely fine. Like I don't know. It's just every beat of this movie was predictable. And it takes forever. Like the first half hour of this is like them on a montage of their week on vacation in Mexico, where Marcus and Emily are partying with Ron and Kyla. But it's a montage. And then every time they cut to a scene where there's like an acting bit, they don't really, like nobody looks drunk. Like it's very rare that anybody acts or sounds or is even trying to portray a drunk person, despite the fact of the montage where they're just basically drinking all week. So I don't know, like there could have been some comedy in that, or at least like make it seem like they're actually had been drinking all week. I don't know. It's like a situation where you have this couple that there's no reason why they would be spending the week with this other couple to begin with. And then they go on this montage. Like they don't even show the week that they had where they're bonding. So you don't really get to see them bond at all, which they don't really bond because by the time that Marcus and Emily are leaving, the vacation's over, they're going back home to go on a wedding. A little over 4 years ago, I started The Many Faces. It's an ongoing series of abstract ink portraits. Each piece is improvised. Each piece is released daily. Start collecting now. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF. That stands for The Many Faces. And save yourself 25% when you use coupon code RTS. That stands for The Ray Taylor Show, because that's what you're listening to, and I love you. So I want you to save 25% when you use that coupon code. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF and use coupon code RTS to save 25% when you start collecting one of over 1,600 original ink paintings. By myself, I made them. Support me. I love you. Back to the show. Which this movie also is very backwards. Like, it's almost like they took their honeymoon first and then the wedding. And even the wedding feels like the reception was put before the ceremony. Like, everybody's there hanging out at this, like, location for days before the wedding actually happens. Which maybe that happens in some families that have money. Everybody just, like, they know, like, everybody can just take off a week to hang out at a resort pre-wedding. I don't know. There's so of course, so they part ways. When they part ways, they're like, "Oh, see you later." Like they don't want to see each other again, which is makes sense. They're not like a couple that I don't know. It's just there wasn't. It, it was just bad. So they part ways, and of course, during the wedding, like there's the pre-wedding, whatever. There's a party. Everybody's there, and they're talking about how like you get to see Marcus at his work, and all of his coworkers, all of his employees want to go to his wedding or whatever, but they're not invited. What boss invites their employees anyway? That doesn't make any sense. They go to the wedding thing, and then, of course, who crashes the wedding literally crashes into a wall to enter into the wedding portion of this movie is Ron and Kyla. And Kyla's pregnant. There's a scene that the movie clearly is telling you that Marcus slept with Kyla during their last hurrah, their last party in Mexico. But now she's pregnant. So, I mean, the movie's like trying to hammer in like all of these misunderstandings and assumptions that these characters are doing, which obviously by the end of this film, like every comedy that has these like misunderstandings, like you think this character is one way, like the Wrong Missy is very similar, but the Wrong Missy does it in a way where it's funny. They're able to add humor into it. Whereas this, it's just John Cena, for some reason, in a comedy, in a lead, like not a good actor to begin with, let alone not funny. Just because he was in a funny movie like Trainwreck doesn't mean he's funny. Doesn't mean he's a good actor. I think he was in that movie for like 2 seconds. I don't understand why people keep putting John Cena in movies where he has to like act. The Suicide Squad was his best, in my opinion, his only good movie that he's been in. It's a good movie, but his only good like performance from him, which he didn't have to do much. He was just like kind of a meathead kind of a guy. He didn't really have to. There wasn't a lot of range to that character. But for some reason he was cast to be comedic. Like if they had done like an actual comedian in the John Cena role, this movie would have been exponentially better. Like if it was Little Rel playing off of like Zach Galifianakis, I mean, Zach would have brought humor to this thing instead of just one comedic actor, Little Rel, and surrounded by just a bucket of wet fish. I mean, Kyla seemed like I can't remember her name. She was in the Scream movie, not Scream, the Scary Movie franchise. Like she's kind of seems like she's doing that type of a character, but just annoying ultimately. Like John Cena's annoying. She's annoying. The family is annoying. The brother's annoying. Lil Rel is annoying, sadly. Like everybody is just so unlikable in this entire movie. Then there's like obviously during the wedding, they like things happen and they bond. There's this scene where they're all on this horse ride, this like fox hunt or whatever. And John Cena and Marcus split off. Ron and Marcus split off to go find a fox. Like he's gonna, impress his dad by finding a fox. And there's this scene where it's like John Cena's just picking shit off the ground. It's like, oh, this is edible. This is edible. And then he's like, finds these mushrooms. And of course, it's like, oh, well, somebody's not going to eat mushrooms when they're supposed to, or not supposed to. So, of course, Marcus eats a mushroom, but he wasn't supposed to. So Ron's like, well, I'm going with you, bro. We're both on this trip. And then it's following that is probably the worst depiction of being high in any movie. I've never taken mushrooms, but I've seen a ton of movies that have depicted people who have taken psychedelics of a variety of ways, in a variety of manner. And even the lowest budget version of that type of scene is better than what's in Vacation Friends. It is like the laziest type of editing and effects that you could do to portray a mushroom trip. Like they squeezed in the aspect ratio so everybody looked like they're stretched out. They did like a simple like green screen or blue screen key out for the sky to make it just a flat kind of pixelated blue. I think maybe it was purple. I'm colorblind, so I don't know. But that's it. There's no and then the actors just did this in front of the camera. Whoa! And that was the extent of what the psychedelic experience. And maybe because this is, Disney owns Fox now, maybe there was a better version of that scene that Disney's like, nope, we're distributing this. It's got our name on it. We can't do that. So I don't know. I don't know if that was, that this whole movie could have been like just completely altered because of Disney, because Disney owns distribution. Just another reason I'm not a fan of Disney, but I don't know if they're to blame. Maybe this was just an original pile of shit that somehow got made. But I think if the casting was different, I think if they got rid of John Cena and put any comic in there that Lil Rel could have bounced off of better, then yeah. But John Cena, it's like, I don't understand why people put him in stuff. I don't get it. Like, he doesn't have the charisma that The Rock has. I think Batista is far better actor than both of them. But John Cena is just like, it's like he's like doing a sketch. Like just like a TikTok sketch, but it's in a big budget film. Like there's no, I don't know. It's just, I didn't get it. And then I feel bad. Emily, probably the least utilized character out of the four of them, just has really nothing to do in this movie whatsoever. There's a montage of like events that happen that cause Marcus to lose the rings. And that's a dumb scene. It's like this Rube Goldberg thing that happens on the street. Like a motorcycle swerves for some reason. And because it swerves, it caused this thing to happen, which caused a yoga mat to roll across the street and knock a bagel out of a trash can. And then a squirrel grabbed the bagel and ran up the telephone pole, and the bird that was on the pole flew away. And that bird was about to shit on Marcus. And then Ron stops it because he knows what a bird looks like before he's going to shit, because they set that up in a scene where they wreck a catamaran and nobody cares. It's just dumb. And not even like, oh, this is stupid and that's where the comedy is from. It's like these characters aren't dumb necessarily. Like they all seem like, they just seem like horrible types of people. Aside from Emily, she seems like the only person that's like normal. Lil Rel complains about everything. John Cena has like no respect for anybody's boundaries or like he just gets away. Him and Kyla are like the worst example of like white privilege in the entire, like they're just so unlikable. Like you could see them, that couple, in some viral video about, not putting on a mask. They're like, woohoo, we don't care. That's just kind of, I don't know. I don't really get this movie. I didn't think it was funny. If you thought it was funny, let me know that you disagree, that you think it was funny, and I'll just note not to ever take movie recommendations from you, because this was a bad movie. And, I was hoping to enjoy it. I was hoping to sit down, relax, and enjoy a comedy, maybe get some laughs. There's no heart in this movie either. Like, even if it had some heart, that would have, like, even when everything kind of comes together in the end and you find out, oh, everything's just a misunderstanding and they're all actually good people. There's no heart. Like, that's not earned at all. It's just written that way because that's how these movies work. Like, you have to Like of course they're misunderstood. The people that are horrible throughout the movie, it's just they're misunderstood. They're just misunderstood. No heart, no laughs, no recommendation from me. But if you're brave enough, check out Vacation Friends on Hulu. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com and follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!